Welcome to PeaceCast. I am U.S. Ambassador John W. McDonald, now retired. I'm absolutely convinced that peace is possible, even in this troubled world of 2014. For me, peace is real. Peace is worth it. It's worth it for you. It's worth it for the world. And it's time to speak out for peace.
Speaking more personally now, what's peace to you?
Well, that's a tough one. It really is, because peace is so many things. To me, it's far more than just nonviolence. It has to be integrated into the souls of the people. You can touch the heart of the person and make them realize that the enemy is also a human being with the same hopes and fears that you have. Then you begin to build a peace that lasts. And governments don't know how to do that. They think that if they sign a peace treaty, that's peace. That's not. You have to work with the people, and that's what we do. We only work with the people and help them build a peace process.
Tell us a little more about what it took back at the time when you were initiating the International Day of Peace, now recognized by the United Nations.
Well, that's quite a story. I was on the U.S. delegation to the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1981. And the ambassador from Costa Rica said, you know, my president wants to establish an international year of peace. But the General Assembly had decided a few years before that the odd number of years would be for national focus on items like water and disability, and the regular years were international world conferences. So I said, let me look at my calendar and say where the next open year is open. And it was 10 years from there. And I told the ambassador, that's 10 years from now. He said, oh my God, my president won't be around by that time. And we had another conversation. He said, my president really wants to do something about peace. Can't you help? And I said, well, let me think about it. And then I said, how about an International Day of Peace? Oh, he said, that's a fantastic idea. I said, well, what I will do, I will write a little resolution that your president has to come up from Costa Rica, take my resolution, make it his resolution, and present it as his idea to the General Assembly of the United Nations, and I'm sure they will adopt it unanimously. And that's exactly what happened. And so in November of 1981, the General Assembly passed that resolution, making the International Day of Peace the opening day of the General Assembly, which is the third week of September.
Right.
That's what I had on my original resolution.
Sure.
And it started in 1982.
We understand that you're submitting a new proposal for an International Day of Peace at the United Nations. Can you tell me a little bit about how that differs from the one that's been in place all these years?
Well, you know, a lot happened over those decades. 20 years later, a new resolution was passed by the United Nations, making the date firm, making it September 21, which is the fall equinox. And the idea was that September 21 would be something that people could register with without having to move back and forth a year in and year out.
Yeah.
And so that was adopted by the General Assembly unanimously. And I've been involved in demonstrations about the International Day of Peace for many times over the years. I remember speaking on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial one time on September 21 about the International Day of Peace. In 2006, we were able to organize a parade from here in Washington, D.C., down Massachusetts Avenue, from the mosque to the Indian Embassy, where there's a big statue of Gandhi. We had 500 people walking down that path. Last September 21, I was invited to make a speech on the lawn of the Capitol, and I talked about the origins. And on that day, 500 million people in the world were celebrating the International Day of Peace. 500 million. That's a lot of people. But they were all people They weren't governments.
Not good.
And so I decided, well, how do we make it possible for governments to get more directly involved in peace? And so I have written to the new president of Costa Rica, because they started the idea, and
Right.
I've urged him to come to the General Assembly this fall and to take my draft resolution, which I've given to him, make it his own, and present it to the United Nations General Assembly. And that idea would be to make the International Day of Peace, September 21, a national holiday in every country of the world. And by spreading the word and making it official and getting governments involved, I'm hopeful for the future.
Is there some sort of petition or any way online that ordinary folks like us might be able to support this new version, if you will, of the International Day of Peace?
There is a very interesting NGO called PeaceNow.com, and they have a petition out there which is supporting this idea, and people can sign up for that, PeaceNow.com, and get that out into the open.
Well, now it's 23 years later since its inception. How do you feel, Ambassador, about the United Nations International Day of Peace?
I'm fascinated by it. I really think it's a great idea that the world has basically adopted, and now we have to push it forward and get people, once governments have made it a national holiday, then the people in that country can push them to do more about peace in their own particular country. So that's the long-term goal, is to make it a national holiday and then get every nation's people to push their governments to move in that general direction. That's what we try to do. That's how you build peace for the world. I've been to 103 countries in my career, all 50 states of the United States, and all the provinces of Canada. So I know about people, I know about peace. And the last thing that I want to mention is, for us, the women are the peace builders of the world. They get it in every country I've worked in before the men do. So remember, the women are the peace builders. Thank you very much.